for all of you out there who were fans of this loser, time to drop this anti-white loser. What does he say needs to be done? I think it was something like 28,000 need to be deported. 10 million came in under Biden. Some numbers say. Make sure anything I say you got to check out for yourself. 10 million. Rand Paul says 28,000 have to go, and the rest, work permits. The rest of them get work permits. That's your Republican Party for you. I think it's a terrible image. You know who talks like this? Girls. Not all of them, but nearly. Worried about how it looks to everyone else. I think it's a terrible image. If you send troops and I say kick their fucking doors in. That's what I say. That's what we need. And I'm not feeling really, as much as I like Tom Homan, you know that position. I was trying to explain this the other day. Czar is a fake job. That's not a real job in the government. It's a fake job. And so who's going to make his recommendations into action? Who's going to actually carry it out? I'm curious. So are we going to end up with a Tom Homan that has all kinds of recommendations that he is stymied by this department and that department and that department? And then we get to sit around for 4 years. You know, the answer is yes. We get to sit around. We get to say, God dang it, they're doing this again. It's not right. It's not fair. Yeah, exactly. You never actually thought, I mean, we talk here all the time. There is no way out of this by way of voting. Trump was an opportunity to promulgate the lexical and dialectical power of the Go Free dialogic. That's it. So here you have Rand Paul, and he is a Republican in a hard red state, Kentucky, and a lot of good old boys and girls there. And that's his position. What is the rest of the Republican Party going to say? So, and a work permit, the right to work, is becoming a citizen. That's amnesty. That's just we'll give them some buffer time, and then they can become a citizen. 20, by some counts, I've read 20 million people have to go. But Rand Paul says 28,000. GOP Senator Rand Paul denounced President-elect Donald Trump's plan to deploy the military to carry out mass deportations of undocumented immigrants upon his return to office, saying it would be a huge mistake and a misuse of military personnel. I'm not in favor of sending the army in uniforms into our cities to collect people. Actually, Paul probably, I'm not in favor of sending army in. That's his actual voice. They have to dial it up a little bit so that he sounds like a guy, at least. But that's his actual voice. Told Newsmax and Rob Schmidt on Tuesday, I think it's a terrible image. In other words, it's not a good look. Men don't say that. It's not a good look. Guys never say that. And not what we use our military for. We never have, and it's actually been illegal for over 100 years. Paul emphasized in the interview, I wouldn't be surprised if we see here that he says, and it would set a terrible precedent. Or I didn't read that already, did I? No. It's a terrible image, is what he said. Yeah, a precedent, meaning that if we do it, then the meanie Democrats will do it to us. They're going to do it to you, you flailing pussy. They're going to do it to you. They always do. Get out of the way, Mayberry moron. You and your sewing circle have done enough damage to the West. Destroy the Democrats. That's the mindset. Not, let's not be harsh, because then they'll be harsh. Paul emphasized in the interview that he believes the task of removing people from the country should fall to local police or domestic agencies, which we've listened to throughout all of Trump's first term, did not have the money, did not have the manpower. Paul knows that. So it should be done by the groups that don't have the money and the manpower to do it. Okay. I will not, quote, I will not support an emergency declaration. Okay, then we need you out of office. You've done enough damage. Get out of office. Will not support an emergency declaration to put the army into our cities. I think that's a huge mistake, he said. Later adding, I really think us as conservatives who are supportive of Trump need to caution him about sending the military into our cities. This is exactly 2016 all over again. The Republicans, people like Rand Paul, they immediately circle around. Trump gets, I mean, in the first 2016, we talked about it. That's not what this election was, not a people's revolution. 2016 was a people's revolution. And then dickless wonders like Rand, the pussy Paul, crowded around Trump, he and the other girls of both sexes, and said, oh, be delicate. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. Even though the people put you in office for drastic measures, more votes for you then than now. Even though the people did this, you can't heed what they have to say. But of course, we knew he wouldn't. I told you he wouldn't. He's a businessman. He wants to make deals, everybody to walk away happy with him up a little higher so that you can do business again in the future. What we need is an uber tyrant. What we need is an uber warlord. That's what we need. Trump has vowed to begin deporting hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants, anti-white intruders, from the country on day one of his new administration, nominating former acting ICE Director Thomas Homan as his border czar. There it is right there. Not a real position. Just remember, I talked about that. Is he going to have the teeth? Who's going to be the teeth? What departments are going to have to obey? What is Tom just making recommendations, or is Tom ordering department heads? How will that happen? Are these department heads, do they know they have to take marching orders from Tom Homan? As the incoming chair of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, Paul has said, and what's her name is the Homeland in charge of Homeland Security if she ends up getting the job, and all she could ever do was shoot a dog that was misbehaving. Kristi Noem. She's the Department of Homeland Security. Most of it's going to have to be carried out through her. Do you see warlord mentality in Kristi Noem? I mean, is Kristi just going to tell Tom no? Has Trump done that on purpose so that Trump could say, hey, I put your border czar in there and Kristi's not carrying out the orders? What can I do? Paul has said he'll seek to restore Trump's remain in Mexico policy, which would require asylum seekers to the U.S. to wait in Mexico for the legal request to be processed. Great. He has an inconsistent record with supporting Trump, endorsing him for president in 2020, but not this year. In 2019, Paul voted against Trump's proposed national emergency declaration to secure funds for his border wall. Why does anybody like Rand Paul? Why is he still in office? The senator also expressed concerns for how it would look for the housekeeper who's been here for 30 years. So to be arrested and thrown out of the country, if she is here illegally, arrest her ass and throw her out of the country. It looks like July 4th. It looks like Independence Day when we arrest criminals who broke into our house and throw them out. How does it look? How does it look, Rand, for the white woman who would have had the job as housekeeper, but she couldn't get it because this Hispanic woman came in and said, "I'll work for nothing"? How does that look? But of course, somebody like Rand Paul, they worship the God economy. They don't give a shit about your white race. It's all about the dollars and cents. I don't see the military putting her in handcuffs and marching her down the street to an encampment. I don't really want to see that, Paul said, proposing an in-between solution. In other words, an amnesty. That's an amnesty. The in-between solution. Throw their fucking asses out. That's what everybody wanted. That's what everybody demanded. The citizens of this country. You are not in a position to tell us what looks good or not. The people who voted for Trump and all of the other Republicans voted to throw these people out of the country. So now we hear, and we can already hear the echoes of a meme pathogen coming back into play. You watch. What was that old meme pathogen when it came to the will of the people in the country? Sometimes a politician has to do the right thing against the will of the people. That was a meme pathogen that was ubiquitous. It was in use all across the West, everywhere, still in use in places where the country is still overwhelmingly white. The politicians, they still break out that meme pathogen. Well, we have to do the right thing, which is not the will of the people that put us in office. The right thing, of course, is the anti-white thing. So you watch now. You're going to hear a gigantic chorus go up from the Republican Party about the need to do the right thing. An in-between solution that would expand work permits, amnesty, for those who have been in the U.S. for a long time. What's a long time? 6 months, 8 months, year, 5 years? I mean, if somebody breaks into Rand Paul, if I break into Rand Paul's house and I'm like, I've been here all night long, I've been here 10 hours. I broke in 10 hours ago. Am I now legitimate because of the amount of time I've spent in his house?